In the remote forests of Canada, where nature's beauty often hides its ferocity, an incredible story of courage and rescue unfolded. Our protagonist, Alex, a former Navy SEAL, was used to facing challenges, but nothing could have prepared him for what lay ahead. After a long day of fishing, Alex decided to take a shortcut through the underbrush to avoid the long, winding path back home. He was tired and looking forward to a warm meal, but as he veered off the main trail, fate intervened. Just a few steps into the dense thicket, he found himself face to face with a large black bear. His heart pounded in his chest, but his training kicked in, forcing him to remain calm. The bear was so close that Alex could feel its heavy breath and see the flare of its nostrils. Slowly, he raised his arms, making himself appear larger, less vulnerable. The bear eyed him warily, its massive paws clawing at the ground as it stood on its hind legs, sniffing the air. Just when the tension seemed unbearable, the bear did something unexpected. It sat down and started to whimper. Alex froze, confused by this unusual behavior. The bear's cries weren't threatening. They were desperate. That's when he noticed the deep gashes on the bear's side and its front paw hanging limp, badly injured. It was clear that this creature had been through something terrible. Alex's mind raced back to that morning. He had spotted a mother bear and her cub across the river. Could this be the same bear? And if so, where was her cub? The thought of the cub being in danger spurred him into action. Despite his initial hesitation, Alex decided to follow the wounded bear as it limped toward the riverbank. The bear, despite its pain, seemed to be trying to show him something, its eyes pleading. Alex scanned the area, but he saw nothing out of the ordinary. Then suddenly, a small dark head emerged from the churning waters. It was the cub, clinging desperately to a rock, the rushing water threatening to sweep it away. The cub was clearly injured, struggling against the powerful current, its tiny body battered by the rocks. The mother bear, now barely able to stand, had clearly tried and failed to rescue her cub before seeking help in a desperate act of hope. Alex knew he had no time to lose. Without hesitation, he grabbed his fishing gear and a sturdy rope. He secured one end to a tree on the riverbank and tied the other around his waist. Taking a deep breath, he plunged into the icy, tumultuous waters. The current was much stronger than Alex had anticipated. Every stroke was a battle against the freezing water and the relentless force of the river. Drawing on his years of training, he powered through the currents until he reached the rocks where the cub was struggling to hold on. The sight of the terrified, exhausted cub broke his heart. It was barely holding on, its small claws slipping from the slick, wet surface of the rock. With careful precision, Alex reached out to grab the cub. But as soon as he touched it, the cub lost its grip and was swept away by the current. Without a second thought, Alex launched himself after it. The freezing water numbed his muscles, but his resolve was unshakable. He swam with all his strength, the rope around his waist tightening as he reached the end of his tether. Just as the cub was about to be pulled under, Alex grabbed it by the scruff, pulling it close to his chest. The cub was limp in his arms, barely conscious, its tiny body almost lifeless. With a lump in his throat, Alex secured the cub with a piece of rope so he could swim freely. He fought against the current, each stroke draining his energy. The cold was seeping into his bones and his strength was waning. But after what felt like an eternity, his feet finally touched the sandy bottom. As soon as Alex emerged from the water, the mother bear, despite her own injuries, rushed toward them with surprising speed. Alex quickly untied the cub and gently placed it on the ground. The mother bear, eyes filled with desperate concern, picked up her cub carefully in her jaws. She staggered toward the forest, but, after a few unsteady steps, collapsed. Alex's heart sank. He had risked his life to save them, but now it seemed it might have been in vain. The cub, weak but alive, tried to nuzzle its mother awake. It was a heartbreaking sight. Alex was about to call for help when he heard the distant roar of an engine. The park rangers had arrived, alerted by hikers who had witnessed the dramatic rescue from a distance. They acted quickly, administering a tranquilizer to the mother bear to safely tend to her wounds. They carefully bandaged her injuries and placed her in a large crate, while Alex helped them lift the cub in beside her. The rangers loaded them onto a truck, heading for the nearest wildlife clinic. Alex followed in his car, his heart heavy with worry. At the clinic, the mother bear was immediately taken into surgery. Her wounds were deep, and some were infected. But thanks to the dedication of the veterinarians and her own incredible resilience, she pulled through. The cub, too, received care and began to show signs of recovery, albeit slowly. Over the following weeks, Alex visited the clinic regularly. He watched from a distance as the bond between the mother and her cub grew stronger. It was clear they were fighters, and witnessing their recovery filled him with a sense of hope and fulfillment. Finally, the day came for their release. The rescue team, along with Alex, drove to a secluded part of the forest. When the doors of the crate were opened, the mother bear hesitated, looking back at her cub. The little one took a tentative step outside, glancing at Alex one last time, as if to say thank you. Then, with a small, determined hop, it followed its mother into the trees, disappearing into the safety of the forest. Alex stood there, watching them vanish into the wilderness, his heart swelling with emotion. He knew he would likely never see them again, but the memory of that day would stay with him forever. He had made a difference, and that was more than enough. As he turned to leave, he felt a profound sense of peace. Nature had been restored, not through some grand gesture, but through the simple courage of one man willing to help. This is the story of an extraordinary rescue, a testament to the preciousness of life in all its forms, and a reminder that sometimes the bravery of a single individual can change the course of fate. In a world where we often feel powerless against the forces of nature, Alex's act of bravery teaches us that even the smallest act of courage can alter the destiny of those in need.